The question is, would you recommend bleaching your hair at home? If so, what would you recommend? Well, it's not easy to bleach your hair at home. It's always better to go to the hairdresser, but I get it if the money is lack or you don't trust any hairdresser. So I get it that you want to try it at home, but my favorite bleach powder is Blonde Me, and bleach it maximum with 20 volumes, not 30, not 40, even if you are darker, because slow bleaching is better than fast bleaching, because the yellow and orange pigments need to melt down. It needs to have time to melt down. And if you are dark, you need to bleach it 2 times. So the first time, don't bleach the scalp yet. Be happy with the length and then apply it on the scalp, because the scalp is bleaching very fast. Okay, next question. Do you have any tips to transition from black hair dyed for years to gray hair? Well, it's for any hair, colored hair, the same problem. If you are turning gray and a lot of gray, then you have a really strong line. If you want to let it grow out, then you still have this line showing every time further and further on your hair. It's not beautiful. It's really ugly. So I always recommend to my clients to do highlights. Highlights not to white gray, but just more light, more dark blonde, and maybe later more light blonde. And so you can break the line from the colored hair and the gray hair. So you break it, and then you put these highlights, a really ashy color, and so you can let it grow with this highlight. That's always something I recommend to my clients. Highlights are an easy way to transform from colored hair to gray hair. Highlights in the beginning, a lot of them, and then less and less and less. But it takes, yeah, like a year and a half to go from colored to gray hair. Or if your hair is very thick and very healthy, you can go to a hair salon that is really famous for their gray colors, and then they can transition it to a gray color. But you're going to have to pay a lot of money, because you're going to sit in that salon for 8 until 10 hours. But you can do it slowly too if you have really delicate hair. But that's my tip to highlights, to go from colored to gray hair. Okay, next question. What do you think about Olaplex products? I really love Olaplex products, but I also love Fiberplex. The Fiberplex is from Schwarzkopf, Olaplex is from L'Oreal. It does the same thing, but you have to know these plexes, Olaplex or Fiberplex, is slowing down your bleach product. So what it means, you have to leave the bleach time a little bit of longer. So it's like if you use 30 volumes, it goes a little bit less because it protects your hair. What I recommend is that you are using 20 volumes. Then you don't need these plexes. But if you want to use these plexes, you are afraid, it's really good. I'm really happy with this Olaplex and Fiberplex. Also, after the treatments, the plexes are really good. It's something I highly recommend. So the question is, what would you recommend to do against hair loss and what to do for hair protection care? Am I really the right person to advertise for the right hair loss products? But hey, I'm a hairdresser. I know what's wrong. Mine is just genetically determined. For a man, hair loss is not really hair loss. It's really your hair is falling out too early, and the new hair that has to be coming out of your head is less thick because your testosterone is changing to dihydrotestosterone. But in an early stage, like if you are 18 or 19, look at your father, look at your grandparents. Are they bald? Then you can use a hair treatment cure. That's like a product that you put on your scalp. It's or with a spray or with small bottles that you can do on. Shampoo for hair loss, that's doing nothing. You have to treat it more intensively. A shampoo is just for make sure that the second product goes inside your hair. So shampoo is preparing your scalp for the second product. So you have to have a hairspray, or not a hairspray, just a hair loss spray, or some ampoules from the pharmacy or from a good hairdresser. And twice a year, in February, March. That's the first period that is very important for hair loss. And then the second one is a big one. It's in fall. It starts September, October, sometimes in November. November is really late. And then you do this cure, 2 months. Every day you make sure that the product is go on your scalp. Research has been done and shows that a good massage every day on your scalp is just making sure that the blood is really floating through your veins here, and then hair loss can be prevented. But you have to start at an early age, not if you see that it's already falling out or thinning out. So you have to start. Of course, it's never too late. For me, it's too late, but it's never too late. But at an early stage, you will have to do twice a year a cure with good ampoules, with good hair loss spray, but just shampoo for hair loss, that is doing nothing. Just make sure that the scalp is prepared for the second product. Twice a year, early in the year and after the summer. That is very important. So the question is, how do you get more volume in your hair? Well, if you have, for example, a sideline on this side, so switch it to the other side. That helps a lot. But look very closely to your hair. Where is it growing? The hair, how is it coming out your hair? If it's diagonally coming out your hair here on the side, then it's better to dry it in the opposite direction. So the first centimeter, you dry it in the opposite direction. So you dry it from the side to the top of your head in the opposite direction. First 1-2 centimeters, not the rest. And that you have to dry first in the opposite direction. On the side, you dry it on top. That's always important. First thing to do when you're drying your hair, the opposite direction. If it's not helping, if it's not staying in a volume for a very long time, you can dry a section every time. Find sections, guys. So drying a section and then spray some hairspray and then the second one and then the second one. It will stay longer in volume. You have to try that. It starts with a bob line and then the long length. That's very good. For short hair, it will stand up. It will not do very much. But for a bob line or a long hair style, that's very good. So the opposite direction of your hair. You have to try it. That's a very good technique. Is it possible to go from a blonde balayage and dye it black with some subtle highlights? Yes, of course, but it will be very difficult to do that at home. You cannot just splash black on blonde. It will be blue. It will be ashy. It will not be pretty. If you are lucky, maybe it will be pretty, but there's a big chance it can be green or blue. So you have to repigmentate your hair and then do some subtle highlights with a toner on top of that. It's possible, but I highly recommend to do that at a hairdresser. But it's possible. But the highlights cannot be too white because black and white highlights, it's better to have black and, like you said, subtle highlights. So go to a hairdresser. That's my tip. So the question is, what is wrong with Quick Blue? Well, there's nothing wrong with Quick Blue, but it's just there are better powders now on the market. Quick Blue is really old-fashioned powder. I don't know if it's from the 90s or early nillies that is Quick Blue from, but there are better powders now. My favorite is Blonde Me. Everybody knows that. I answered that question already. But if you are using Quick Blue with 20 volumes, if you are very careful, it will be not that bad, but it's just not my favorite. And a lot of people are using Quick Blue with 40 volumes, so it's really damaging. It's really like battery acid. So be careful with that. It's a very old-fashioned powder. You have to be more careful than a new powder. So there are many good brands out there. There's nothing wrong with it, but just be careful. If you can avoid it with a newer powder like Blonde Me with some bonds inside, with some like Olaplex or Fiberplex. There are some powders and developers that have these bonds already in the bleaching process. So it's better for your hair. No ammonia, it's better for your hair. So be careful with these old-fashioned brands. That is what I'm trying to say. Watch out with quick blue. Box dye cannot lift color. What do I mean? If you are previously used a box dye before, there are cosmetic pigments in your hair. And another box dye, if you have a blonde box dye, it cannot melt down these pigments because going blonde is melting down the pigments. Box dye is just changing the pigments. So you have a light regrowth and nothing is changing on the lengths.